What up guys, I'm Lisa Bilyeu. I'm co-founder of Quest Nutrition, co-founder and president of Impact Theory, host of Women of Impact, and now author of Radical Confidence. So you may think of me as having confidence today, but guys, let me freaking tell you, that is far from where I started. Throughout this episode, you're gonna hear the roller coaster ride that I've been on with my confidence. And by the end, guys, you're gonna leave with no BS lessons on how the hell you become the hero of your own life. So peeps, roll up your freaking sleeves and let's effing go. We don't let our dreams die by chance. They aren't taken away from us. We're not unlucky. It's a choice. Only I didn't see it like that at the time. The first dream killer choice I made was dismissing my own happiness. I had so much, had come so far, that I believed it was selfish to be unsatisfied with what I had. Rather than listening to that annoying voice that was quietly whispering that something was wrong, I put my fingers in my ears and la-la-la'd my way to trying to block it out, because I felt like holding on to my dreams meant that I was ungrateful for what I had. Was I unhappy? No doubt. But did I think unhappiness alone was a good enough reason to make a whole bunch of changes that might make other people uncomfortable? I wasn't there yet. So rather than having the radical confidence to take the initiative myself, I just kept waiting for things to change on their own. After all, many would have killed for my life. But guys, you can be over the top freaking grateful for what you have, and you can be madly in love with parts of your life and be utterly miserable in others. For 8 years, I lost myself, gave up on my hopes and my dreams. I had massive, audacious goals to be the first female movie director to win an Academy Award. And yet I found myself swapping out my dreams for tradition. So I stayed home and supported my husband, like I thought a good Greek woman should. For 8 years, I found myself dismissing the fact that I was actually miserable. And to make sure that I wasn't paying attention to how miserable and unhappy and stuck I was, I came up with things that would distract me. It's what I call having a squirrel to chase. Like the dog in that movie, where it has a squirrel and it goes off into a direction to be distracted. That's what I found myself doing. And every single day, I would fill it up with things that would make me not pay attention to how unhappy I was. Things like doing grocery shopping and trying to carry as many bags as I possibly could, and being proud of myself that I carried more today than I did yesterday. Or finding myself actually color coding my husband's sock drawer. Guys, you think I'm freaking joking? But I'm actually deadly serious. These are the tiny little squirrels that we often use to distract ourselves and dismiss how unhappy we are. We fill our day up so that we actually don't feel the feels of the fact that we're not living the freaking life we wanted. And so I want to talk about killing the damn squirrel. And guys, the most freaking horrific thing about everything that I just said is I didn't think I had a choice. I was literally convincing myself that every day was just a given. I didn't realize that every day was an opportunity to make a different choice. And even worse, as I was going through these days, I was convincing myself I was living the life I should be living. We put blinders on, and so often we don't actually see the reality that is in front of us. I was on vacation with my sister, and we're going through the airport. This is early days where I had been a stay-at-home wife for about 6 to 7 years. And I'm going through the airport with my sister, and we get to customs. And I don't know if you've been through customs before, but they fill out these sheets, and it's like, okay, you have your date of birth, where you've been, where you live, and then it said occupation. And so the guy standing behind the counter turns to me, he's like, oh, what's your occupation? For a second, I stuttered. For a split second, I was like, I don't know what to say. And in that split second, my sister, who I love more than life itself, next to me, just says so matter-of-factly, oh, she's a housewife. Now, in that moment, guys, I didn't even realize. I was so shocked by the fact that she had said that I was a housewife. Now look, I want to preface this by saying there's nothing wrong with being a housewife. If that's the life you want, it was not the life I wanted, not the life I dreamt about, and definitely not the future I thought I was going to have. And so the whole time I was a stay-at-home wife supporting my husband, I freaking convinced myself that wasn't the case. I didn't even allow myself to see the freaking truth that was right in front of me. It took my sister, someone on the outside, to just matter-of-factly, nonchalantly point out the life I was living. It felt like a slap in the face. But the truth was, that was just the reality. And sometimes you need a slap in the face for us to actually see the reality. We really cannot see ourselves the way other people see us. But let's face it, we all freaking make assumptions anyway. We make assumptions about how they see us and who they see us to be. Now here's the thing, guys, there's nuance to this, because sometimes you don't freaking listen to the outside world. You don't listen to who people think you are. You listen to yourself. And yet, in some moments, like this with my sister saw something I didn't. And so I've actually brought my sister on because it is so important that we see that sometimes how we see ourselves isn't how other people see or think of us. Now look, like I said, sometimes that can be amazing and other times that can be detrimental. But in this case, I want to hear from my sister because it was so strong that she saw something in me that I didn't. And while in the moment, guys, it felt like a bit of a freaking slap in the face, like a real freaking backhander. The truth was that when it came from my sister, someone that freaking loves me more than life itself, I had to just take it as truth. So here we go. Let's hear from my sister.
So the interesting thing is that I don't actually remember this incident. And it's interesting how something can be so significant to one person and yet not significant at all to someone else. We got to customs. This is my memory of the event. We got to customs. The customs officer asked her the question as to what she did for a living, and she hesitated. So in that scenario, when you're faced with a security officer who's asking you questions, you just almost spit out an answer. So in my haste to answer a question on her behalf, I just said that she was a housewife. So growing up, being a housewife and a mother was really normal. In the Greek culture, that's what was expected of most women, that's what they would end up doing, is getting married and taking care of a family. And to me, that was quite normal. It had no meaning to me. But obviously to Lisa, it was a very different situation, and that somehow sparked in her a feeling of that she wasn't where she wanted to be, that somehow she had let go of her dreams, her hopes, and it spurred her then actually into action and into changing her life and pursuing what she really wanted to pursue, because she realized that she wasn't happy. So even though my remark wasn't meant in a horrible way, it wasn't meant to demean her, it wasn't meant to make her feel badly about herself, I do recognize that it did actually do that. But that was probably a good thing. It was probably the best thing that could have happened in that moment, because it changed her trajectory and the course of her life.
I know how it feels to feel stuck. I've been there. That feeling where you literally do not know if there's a way out. That feeling of, do I deserve to have a better life? That's a hard question, guys, because when you are just living in the purgatory of the mundane, where your life hasn't actually hit rock bottom, where things are actually okay, they are fine. In those moments, you wonder if you have even the courage to ask for more. In those moments, you wonder if you even deserve to ask for more. And guys, I know how that feels. But trust me, you do not have to stay there. And that's why the story with my sister in immigration is the most beautiful story ever. Because she freaking slapped me in the face metaphorically and woke me up. I was living a life of just being fucking fine. What the hell? I needed that slap. I needed that realization that actually I did have a choice. And just like I made small, tiny choices every single day to be stuck, I actually could make small, tiny choices in the opposite direction to get myself out. And so, the dream freaking killers of mine, there's 3. Dream killer number 1 is dismissing your own freaking happiness. Do not do it. Do not dismiss. Do not diminish. Do not deter from that goal or that dream that you freaking deserve. Dream killer number 2 is not freaking being specific about what that dream is. As an example, for 8 freaking years, I was saying I wanted to make movies. What the hell does that mean? Do I want to make animation? Do I want to make short films? Do I want to make low budget? Because if I decided that and I said, oh, I can make low budget, I could have started yesterday. But I just left it up in the air. I want to make movies. So I actually didn't move forward. And number freaking 3 dream killer is not giving yourself a deadline. Every single year, I kept telling myself, just one more year, just one more year, just one more year. That one more year, as you know already, has turned into 8 years. And every single time I told myself that, I convinced myself. I said, well, you've put in this amount of time, you may as well keep going. You may as well keep going. If you play poker, it's something called pot committed. It means that you've invested so much money in the hand, you may as well keep going. What? I literally thought I was better off just keep on going down the wrong path than admitting that I've just spent the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years doing something that I hate. Give your dream a freaking deadline. And because I didn't have this rule, I spent every single year just saying, just one more year, just one more year. If I had told myself that my goal needs a deadline, I wouldn't have wasted 8 freaking years. So let me just be absolutely freaking succinct. You can change your life. In those early days of Quest, I didn't feel confident. On a daily basis, I came up against situations and problems, and occasionally people, who made me want to turn and run screaming in the opposite direction, to go home and hide behind the couch with a blanket over my head. But I chose not to accept can't. I chose not to pass the buck up or down. Every day was an education in building a business, and I started to see that I don't know was nothing more than an excuse. If I didn't know how to do something, then I had to get radically confident and bloody learn. Period. Instead of asking myself, can I do this? I'd ask myself, how can I do this? If the answer to that question involves doing something that I didn't already know how to do, then I knew I was going to have to learn. I was going to have to figure it the hell out. So when my husband started his protein bar company, I offered to help. I mean, that's what a good Greek wife does, right? So, babe, of course I'll help. What do you need? So he's like, oh, just ship a couple of boxes here, he says. Mail a couple of boxes there, he says. Cut to the growth of Quest at 57,000%. And guys, I went from shipping bars on my living room floor to all of a sudden having to be a freaking boss. I had no idea how to be a boss. The first time I had to be a boss, and we got so many orders in one day, the guy is standing there on his phone texting. I was so worried to tell him what to do that instead of actually telling him to put down his phone and work, what do you think I did? Of course, I just tried to handle it myself. I tried to go even quicker, to box things up, because I was too damn petrified to tell my employee to work. But yet I had to overcome the obstacles. My house was down as collateral, so I had to show up every single freaking day and face my inadequacies. Every single day. So when someone came in and was like, hey, you know what? You can actually ship boxes quicker if you put them on a pallet. What did I tell the UPS guy? Yeah, cool, I got it. And then I ran back to my office and jumped in front of my bloody computer and typed into Google, what the hell is a pallet? That's how inadequate and unprepared I was to take on that role. So every single day, I was facing things where I wasn't equipped to face. I wasn't educated to face. I wasn't informed to face. But yet, every day when I faced an obstacle, I realized I had a choice to run and hide or to freaking Google that shit and do it anyway. Being challenged day in and day out actually did something really freaking interesting to me. It showed me what I was capable of. And in that process, in realizing what I was capable of, I started to freaking love business. And for a while, I was definitely trying to dip my toe in both pools. I was trying to be a great housewife and I was trying to be an amazing business partner. And as you can imagine, trying to do both amazingly well ends up being that you do nothing amazing. I realized I no longer wanted to put clothes out for my husband anymore. I realized I no longer wanted to cook for him anymore. Didn't mean I didn't love him more than life itself. But I realized I didn't want to be a housewife anymore. It was finally time to realize I had a choice. Oh, the guilt, the crippling guilt I felt about even the fact that I was just thinking it, let alone even acting on it. The fact that I was just thinking that I didn't want to take care of him was so crippling to me. If only I could see what my business partner / husband was thinking.
Lisa becoming an entrepreneur was a pretty tumultuous time in our marriage, if I'm completely honest. It was not easy at all to go from almost a decade of her taking care of everything that I was doing. She was the CEO of Bilyeu Enterprises, and I could rely on her to facilitate what I was doing. So I was working insane hours. I was working incredibly hard. And she was making all of that possible, from putting out my clothes, fixing all my meals, taking care of bills, making sure that everything in the house was sorted out, that the animals were taken care of. I mean, just everything. And it was always something that I valued tremendously. I was never one of those people that was oblivious to how much my wife was doing to contribute to what we were doing. And you know, when I would call her the CEO of Bilyeu Enterprises, it was meant to honor the massive contributions that she was making. So as she began to wake up to her desire to be an entrepreneur, her abilities as an entrepreneur, and to really fall in love with that and want to invest more in it, she realized that to do that, it was inevitably going to take time away from her other incredibly full-time job that she had as the CEO of Bilyeu Enterprises. I wanted her to win. I wanted her to become whoever she wanted to be, and that she had all of that potential, and she was willing to put in the work to make that potential usable. And it ended up changing everything about our marriage and our life, and it's been incredible. And so I hope that for everybody, I hope no matter how it plays out in your life, that you realize encouraging your significant other to pursue their dreams, to remember that they really can do anything they set their mind to if they're willing to put in that work, if they're willing to be disciplined, if they're willing to face their fears, and that they can build radical confidence if they are aware of the fact that it's always going to be hard, it's always going to be scary, and that facing that, figuring it out, and becoming the person you've always wanted to become, that's the whole point. That there is no moment where there's no negative voice, there is no moment where you're not going to need courage, but that you can always have radical confidence.
Having negative thoughts is absolutely normal, and having them every single day is absolutely normal. But it's how you respond to the negative thoughts that is important. And guys, seriously, stay tuned for number 4, because even though it's counterintuitive, it's freaking fire. Tip number 1 is observe your thoughts. Now, you're gonna wanna quieten them down. You're gonna wanna change them. But all I'm asking right now, guys, is just observe them. You're gonna try and change the channel because you don't like what you're hearing. But even if you change the channel, the sad news is the message is still the same. Shame sucks. Yes, it really does. I'm not gonna freaking pretend that it doesn't. But instead of feeling badly about it, instead of letting it seep into your consciousness, literally take it and say, what is it trying to tell me? Decipher it. It's giving you a message. What's that message? Tip number 2 is identifying the patterns. Now guys, it's gonna be really freaking important for you to start looking at what are the behaviors that you do over and over and over and over again. So for me, I started to notice every time I would get into an argument with my husband that afterwards, all I would do was focus on the negative, focus on the could have done better, should have said this, all these things I kept repeating. I never walked away with, I'm so proud of X, Y, and Z. I'm so proud that I handled that well. I'm so proud that I was able to communicate with him. I didn't focus on that. It was always the freaking negative. And what this is called is ANTs, also known as automatic negative thoughts. Tip number 3. Now you've assessed the patterns, now what you need to do is to see if they're actually valid. Because here's the thing, guys, you may not like it, but sometimes they are. I hate to say it, but sometimes they are. So what I need you to do is right now, put your thoughts on trial. Ladies, I know sometimes you worry that you're not good enough. Trust me, nobody knows that better than me. I spent almost a freaking decade having my soul sucked out of my body, doing something that I didn't love. Finally, even though I was scared to freaking death, I decided I was going to go for it. And I've ended up building the life of my dreams, a life I couldn't have imagined, because I realized that radical confidence is being afraid and doing it anyway. I wrote this book for you with 10 no BS lessons that you need to go from feeling stuck and frustrated to doing anything that you set your mind to. Tip number 4 is allow the negative thoughts to fuel you. Now guys, I understand you're gonna think I'm freaking nuts right now, but hear me out. You got some choices. The negative thought is gonna come. You try and switch it off. You can't. You try and turn the volume down. You can't. So now you got a choice. Your negative thought can actually serve you, or it can break you. I don't know about you guys, I choose let it serve me. So here's a perfect example. My producer told me my outros are too long. Apparently, I talk too much. What? Who knew? But she told me that they're too long and actually it'll be better for the show and for myself to reduce it and make them shorter. When I'm on set, I am literally doing an outro. And as I'm doing the outro, the negative voice seeps in. As I'm talking, the negative voice keeps repeating. Guys, okay, so I think I've said enough what you're made of. This is gonna be short. No, why have you got the book, Lisa? Why have you got the book, Lisa? Outro, subscribe, come on. Oh God, Lisa, shut up. What's going on? Why are you still talking? End. What are you doing? And now I haven't quite nailed it yet, but the negative thought, guys, is actually serving me. The negative thought is actually pushing me to get better in real time. Tip number 5. I really wish this tip was ignore your negative thoughts. But the truth is that you can't ignore them no matter how much you try. So instead, guys, tip number 5 is to actually deal with the negative thoughts and put strategies in place that allow you to deal with them. Create daily negative thought time. Now what this means is you're going to be thinking it anyway, so why not block a time in your day where you can just go ham on the negative thoughts. Say everything in this one little space of time. Say all the negativity that you ever want to say. But once that time is over, oh, it's 12 o'clock, freaking stop. Practice breathing. Now I know what you're gonna say. I breathe all the time, Lisa. Why on earth do I need to practice it? So what it does, guys, is it actually kicks in your parasympathetic nervous system, which allows you to calm down and see things more clearly. Eliminate should and shouldn't from your vocabulary. Now what this does is it actually puts judgment to the thought. So if you say, I shouldn't be thinking that, what are you telling yourself? You are literally judging yourself for having that thought. So right now, we need to stop saying should or shouldn't. Who on earth said if it's right or wrong? Who made us think we should or shouldn't do anything? So we need to stop putting shoulds and shouldn'ts on our thoughts. Tip number 6 is practice, practice, practice. Guys, I'm 41 years old and the negative voice is still there. I've taken the batteries out, I've tried to change the volume, I've tried to change the channel, but it turns out I have a lifelong subscription. Confidence isn't as important as you think it is, and people get this wrong all the time. Because confidence isn't a freaking goal. It's not the end game. We don't want confidence just for the sake of feeling confident. We want to be confident so that we can go out and kick ass and do all the things we want to do. You want to feel confident so you can start your YouTube channel. You want to feel confident so you can start dating. You want to feel confident so you can take that dance class or ask for that promotion. But here's the mic drop. You don't need confidence to do new things. Doing new things creates confidence. People want confidence to feel competent enough to begin, but it's actually the other way around. This isn't a chicken and egg situation, because here there is a clear answer. Competence hatches confidence. Cheap, cheap. So many of us think that we're going to get confidence when I land my dream job, when I meet the person of my dreams, when I lose all the weight, when I get more money. But guys, that couldn't be freaking further from the truth. After I co-founded a billion-dollar company, Quest Nutrition, after I co-founded Impact Theory, a media studio that has developed content that has been viewed over 500 million times, after I have my own show, Women of Impact, where I get to interview some of the most incredible women on the freaking planet, after all of that, I am still shit scared of things. And so I'm actually going to share a very personal story to show exactly what I mean. This is a couple of years ago. The entrepreneur, amazing, incredible influencer, Gary Vee, sends my husband an email and CCs me. And it's like, hey, Tom and Lisa, I'm holding an event in Vegas. It was for CES, this big event, and he invited us to come. Now, before I see the email, I'm freaking excited. Before I can even get up off my seat and running and tell Tom, oh my God, I want to go this, Tom bloody replies to him and says, sorry, Gary, I think I might be tied up. I may not be able to come. Well, shit, I still wanted to go. My schedule was totally wide open. But I was too scared. So I literally ran into the office, into Tom, and I was kind of like checking with him. It's like one of those moments, you know, when you're kind of just testing the waters. And so I was like, babe, I was thinking about going and asking Gary if I could go by myself. What do you think? Now, part of me actually really freaking hoped, guys, he'd be like, nah, babe, I don't think you should. Because actually that would have been like the get out of jail free card. But he was like, oh my God, of course you can. So now I had no excuse. I was like, well, my husband's encouraging me. I kind of want to go anyway, which is why I asked in the first place. But did Gary just ask me to be polite? Right? You know, the negative voice. It starts going in your head of all these reasons why. Oh my God, do you have the audacity to email Gary Vee back? Well, Lisa, he did say you, but is he just trying to be nice? All this thing spiraling in my head, going round and round, or whether I should freaking ask Gary Vee if I can still come. Because even though it's behind a computer, I was still scared to get rejected. We all know freaking rejection sucks, guys. It doesn't matter how long you've been around, rejection still sucks. But in that moment, I realized that if I didn't ask, the answer was always going to be no. So there I am behind my computer, writing like these 5 words that I must have read 1,000 times, like I was signing away my life rights. And it was like, you reread it, you make sure, is this friendly, is it firm, is it clear? Do I do an emoji to give the impression that I'm being soft? All this bloody thing, just to write a couple of lines that's like, hey, I'd love to come too. Wink. So I write this email out, I assess it, I analyze it. And the hardest thing was to press the bloody send button. So I had to coach myself. All right, Lisa, 3, 2, 1, press send. So now I sit back and I'm like, well, is he going to respond? And in those moments where you don't know how you're going to be received, it can be really freaking scary, because getting rejected sometimes then makes you feel like it's about you, that you're not liked, you're not wanted there, you're not good enough. Sound familiar? If you're anything like me, that's a negative voice in your head telling you that you're not good enough to ask Gary Vee to go to an event. But so I had to coach myself. I had to count down, press that bloody send button. And now it was in his hands. Dude, the days were so long when I was freaking waiting for him to reply. Day after day after day, I'm waiting. And then eventually I get the email. My heart starts, that petrifying feeling like, I'm either going to be ecstatic or I'm going to be heartbroken. I'm not sure which one yet. But I waited and waited and waited. And eventually he sends me the email. I was worried about 2 letters, no. And what I ended up getting was 2 words, of course. Woo! I get to go to Gary Vee's event. And then, oh crap, Lisa, you actually have to go to Gary Vee's event by yourself. So I just got over one hurdle. I was celebrating. In that celebration, all the other fears start coming rushing in. So now it's like, oh shit, not only do you have to go, you go by yourself. You're traveling. I had massive health issues at the time, guys. So all the fears of traveling by myself. What if I get sick? What if I'm at the event and something happens? And my wingman, who's my husband, is not there to help me. What the hell am I going to do? Well, the negative voice absolutely saw the opportunity to keep taking me down that spiraling thought. So I had to take one freaking step at a time. Step 1, book your flight. Don't worry about everything else. Just book your flight. Cool, got the flight. Step 2, book your hotel. Amazing. All these things are very small. And when you take them in small, incrementable bites, guys, they feel less overwhelming. So once I'd done that, okay, now I feel very good about flying to Vegas. But how on earth do I walk into this event? I didn't know anyone except Gary Vee. So I think it might have been a little awkward if I was like, hey, Gary, let me just speak to you for the next 3 hours because I'm really uncomfortable to speak to anyone else. He may have found it a little awkward. So I know I needed a freaking game plan. I needed to be able to walk into that event feeling good about myself, because that was the whole point in going. It was to meet people, to put myself out there. And if I didn't feel good about myself, I would have been standing in the corner looking around. And now I go to, was that why I went to Vegas in the first place? No. Okay, if I know that I need tools to set me up for success, what the hell are those tools going to be? So, number 1, have your freaking hype song. Survivor by Destiny's Child happens to be my freaking hype song. Before I went in, I put the headphones in, guys. I pressed play outside this event in Vegas, and I'm just listening to the lyrics. And I'm singing along, and I'm in the corner, I'm kind of jamming along. I'm a survivor, I'm not gonna give up. Gets me going. See, even my face just lit up. I wonder if your face just lit up me singing to you. But right, so like, get that song that gets the chemicals going. Next thing is my outfit. I like to call it my cape, my Wonder Woman cape. Give a kid a freaking cape and wait 2 minutes. What are they doing? They've got their fist in the air, they're jumping off the sofa because they really feel like they're a superhero. They embody it. So don't freaking dismiss your outfit. The hair, the jewelry is my cape. It's me putting it on. It's my Wonder Woman necklace, putting it on, telling me what I'm capable of. So that's another tool. Then, one thing I did, guys, is I took a freaking selfie. Now, here's the thing. I do selfies on purpose to motivate me. Let me just grab my phone. Here we are. Do this. How do you feel? Now, do this. I feel so much better. Like literally, just by pulling that face and doing the hand, I actually feel a different way. Now, maybe that isn't your move, but what is? What are the little things you can do to feel a little badass? Now start doing them. And it actually, guys, if you don't know, right now, after this video, I want you to start trying a few things, because that's the point. Try them. You don't actually know what's going to work and what isn't until you freaking try. For me, it's music. It's clothes. What's that version for you? Test and figure it out. Now, once you've done the work, and which I had done, I put on my clothes, I put on my jewelry, got my hair done, I listened to this hype song, I pulled this selfie. Now I feel at least slightly confident enough to walk into the freaking room. I'm still scared. But I've got enough of my emotions and I've influenced myself enough to just step in the room. Because remember, we're just taking little incremental steps because we're not going to overwhelm ourselves. So we've now gotten ourselves into the room. That's just the start, right? You've got hundreds of people around you. How on earth are you going to have the confidence to start talking? Now, in that moment, I turned to the expert, the self-proclaimed recovering awkward person, the behavioral scientist, my homie, Vanessa Van Edwards, to get her advice on what the hell I do when I turn up at an event and I have no confidence.
Hello, Lisa and friends. I'm so excited to talk about some of my favorite social hacks for doing great in an event. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Vanessa Van Edwards, and I'm the best-selling author of Cues, Master the Secret Language of Charismatic Communication, and Captivate, the Science of Succeeding with People. I love helping people achieve their goals using next level communication, advanced people skills. So before you even go into the event, your prep is just as important as the actual event. First, you want to have a very, very specific goal in mind. So in terms of social goals, is it to meet new people? Is it to reconnect with the host? Is it to have a great time? Is it to kill it on the dance floor? The more specific your goal is, the more that fights anxiety and the more confident you'll feel. Second, if you can, try to take up space, especially this distance between your earlobes and your shoulders. It's a really weird thing, but when we get anxious, we tend to creep our shoulders up and tilt our head down, and we'll walk into an event like this. Hey, good to see everyone. This is the single fastest way to both feel low confident, oh, feels terrible, and look low confident. So try to take up space. Put on your favorite music while you're getting your makeup done, or while you're riding in the car, while you're doing your hair. All those things are going to help you kind of take up space and expand, which is going to make you both feel and look confident. One thing that we did in our lab, called Science People, is we analyzed the flow of different events, and we found that there is a specific place in an event where you can make the most contacts. Before I tell you what that place is, let me tell you where you shouldn't stand. So in every event, whether that's a party, barbecue, networking event, holiday party, the worst place to stand is the start zone. And this is where people most often get caught. They walk into an event and they walk in and they're like, what do I do? Where do I put my code? Where's the food? That start zone is when people's anxiety is the highest. So it's the worst place to stand to try to make conversation because you're getting people at the peak of anxiety. So once you come in, do your first things. Hang up your coat, get a name tag if there's a name tag, check in if there's a check-in, and move past the start zone where people first enter the room. The place that I like the best is what I call the social zone. The social zone is where people are ready to mingle. They want to make deep conversation. That's typically in the middle of the room or around the food or the bar. And my favorite place to stand, as I promised, is right as people exit the bar or right as people get their drink. The reason for this is because when people first walk into an event, they have a lot of things they might want to do. Greet the host, go to the bathroom, put their coat down, grab a drink, grab a plate of food. So if you try to connect with them too quickly before that, they're not ready to have deep conversation. That's when you get those awkward kind of short conversations where people are overhead gazing, looking to see if they see their friend or the host over your head. Ugh, this is the worst. So stand right as people exit the bar with their drink and they're like looking for someone to mingle, and that person is you. So you want to be right there when someone has a full drink and they're ready to go. Another great kind of option here is standing, so go greeting the host or greeting the person who introduced you, and then standing in their line of sight. That can be another great thing to do because then you're near them, and if they want to introduce you to someone else, they're right there to introduce you. You can also jump in on their conversations because it's someone you know. Sometimes standing in the line of sight of the host is also a good place to be. So cues are the social signals we send to others. And there's cues in everything, from the colors we wear, to our backgrounds, to our facial expressions, to our voice, to our body language, even the temperature of your drink. So one study found that when you carry a warm beverage, it makes you more warm. It actually induces more trust. I think the reason for this is because when we think of someone who is cold, we literally think of them as uptight or nervous. And what happens when we get nervous? Our hands get cold. So when we shake someone's hands and it's cold, we think, oh, are they nervous? our brain is not always caught up with this, because they will sometimes mistake a hand for a cold drink. So the worst thing you can do in an event is hold an ice cold drink and then go shaking hands. They're gonna be like, oh, she's nervous. Ooh, he's nervous. The best thing you can do is hold or give a warm drink. When you come to my office, I offer you a nice steaming cup of hot cocoa, or a nice warm cup of coffee, or a yummy, delicious, comfortable cup of hot tea. That both helps them be warm and others see me as warm. So always carry a warm drink or offer a warm drink. It's a secret way to build trust.
All right, so here I am. I've walked into the door. I'm still fearful, but my girl Vanessa Van Edwards has given me very strict instructions that if I want to meet people, go to the bar. So as I walk into the bar, the negative voice is still going, but I have a very clear instructive of what I'm about to do. Walk to the frickin' bar. So I walk into this bar in Vegas at Gary Vee's event. I gun it for the bar, and what do I order? A cup of tea. So now I've gone from being the person that was petrified at home to even email Gary Vee if I could go to his event. And because of very tiny, small, incremental steps that I planned and planned and planned, I was able to turn up, go to the event, meet people, and what actually got one of my very first conversations going was the guy next to me saw that I ordered tea. And being British, I actually pulled out my own tea bag from my handbag. And that became the talking topic for the guy next to me. He approaches me, he sees I'm drinking tea in Vegas, and he starts asking me about the tea that I'm drinking. That got the conversation going. Before I knew it, I'd been there for hours. I ended up interacting with people. I ended up showing myself that even though I was absolutely petrified, even though I felt total fear, even though I felt imposter syndrome that I was here emailing Gary and going to his freaking event, and yet with small, little, incremental planning, whether I was scared or not, I had freaking radical confidence and I showed up anyway. Everything has to start with the shoes, and then I work my way up, because sometimes you may pick a perfect outfit and the shoes don't actually go. So when I feel confident, there's only one freaking thing I go for, and that is my bad bitch boots. Here they are, bad bitch boots, right here guys. These are the ones, they got some heel, but it's quite thick, that way I don't fall. Got my boots, now I need the right set of pants. When I feel sexy, I actually feel confident, I feel powerful. So I got my boots, got my tight pants all here, and we go through which is the one, which is the one. Ding, ding, ding. These are the sexy pants. And here's the completed outfit. Got my shoes, got my sexy pants, and I got my top. All right, time for the jewelry. Rings, got the chain. Like the weight of this, like it really does. I don't know, there's something mentally. Like Wonder Woman, she puts on her cuffs, prepared for battle. This is my cuffs. Alright guys, now I got my bad bitch boots on, I got my jewelry on, I got my hair, I got my top, I feel freaking sexy. And I actually am even acting more confident. Like go back and watch the other stuff. Like even the way I walk, the way I move my hands, my energy, listen to how loud I'm getting. So guys, I want you right now, right this second, to go into your closet, grab a piece of something, anything that makes you feel good about yourself. I don't care what it is. Put it on, look at yourself in the mirror, and I want you to say these words. I got this. I'm confident.
Today we'll be showing you how to up-level your confidence.
Because before you even walk into the room, guys, you need to believe that you are a freaking badass.
The words you tell yourself about yourself matter because your internal voice will project your confidence.
Or lack of